Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going to cover how and when do you start feeling more confident as a designer? Because as we know, insecurity will creep in at any point of the process, even if you've designed 100 sites before. Trust me, I know. But how do you start to know when you feel more confident as a designer in what you do as a designer, especially if you're starting out? And here's the big difference. When you just start out, you're on the phone with a client and the client's like, no, I don't really like this. I want to go a different way about it. And I want to make it look like this more. And I want to adjust it like this. And I actually think the menu shouldn't be on the top. It should be on the bottom. And I just don't like this design. Well, as a confident designer, you may respond like this. Hey, I know you like these ideas, but most people when they access the site aren't going to understand that the menu is down here at the bottom of the page. And when they go to a site, you want to make it as familiar as possible. If you reinvent the wheel and it's confusing, clients will leave. And if your goal is to get clients, I highly recommend going this way about it. Cool, sounds great. Okay. Then the client may respond, you're right, sounds great, let's go for it. Alternatively, if you're not that confident, you may say, well, I think you're right. I don't really think it's a good idea, but I don't know what else we should do. And client says, well, just give it a try and then let me see it. Then you get off the phone and you're literally dreading your life because you don't know how to even do that. You don't know how to code it. You feel stuck. I'm going to help you in this video. Now, my number one rule for building confidence is experience. You want to build experience. Focus on experience. That's what builds confidence. Focus on repetition. That's what builds progress. What I've seen, what I've learned is simple. The more you do it, the more confident you become. Confidence is not something that comes overnight. What I do recommend is, hey, build that repetition, build progress. But in the process, what I do is I measure myself. I measure myself this way. I just give myself what I call the rule of 10. Rule of 10 is simple. Do it 10 times before you judge it. And that is probably one of the best ways to build confidence so that by the time you get up and you reflect on what you've done, you see that you've already built 10 sites or 30 sites or 50 sites. And then you start to reflect, wow, I actually really have a good handle on how to bring this to life. Sometimes a client comes and they want a really interesting website. Sometimes a client comes and they have a great business and they need a simple website. You never know what that client experience is going to look like from the gate. So you go through the process, you go through it a bunch of times. Then when you see the final result and you see the traction they build, one of the clients I've worked with, I remember when they first came, it was like a $2,000 to $3,000 project. Now their site, they run TV ads. I see them on TV and they're pushing people to the site that I built. And I remember I was literally just in the barber shop getting my haircut, looked over to the TV, saw a commercial and was like, hold up, wait a minute. They're pushing people to the site that I built. I didn't know that was going to happen. I didn't know that when I first worked with a client. I didn't know that they were the top in their industry, but I ended up gaining a lot of confidence through that experience. Further, you gain experience just by doing, right? And so how do you speed up doing? Well, use a timer. I talk about this all the time, but I always use a timer when I work. As you can see right now, I'm using a timer. And I have 40 more minutes to film videos for today before I move on to the next task. And trust me, I'm not going to talk for another 40 minutes on this one video. There's some other content I'm trying to create today. But you build confidence by doing. Go watch some of my oldest YouTube videos. Oh, they're just horrible. The confidence level was not there. Talking to a camera is awkward, but you build confidence by doing. For YouTube videos, I use the rule of 100, not the rule of 10. So what I do is I focus on the next 100 videos versus just the one or being perfect in any single one. And we're about 140 videos right now published or something like that. And we're going to get close to that 200 mark. And then I'll focus on building further skill and confidence behind the camera. Talking to a piece of glass, whether you think it's easy or not, and some YouTubers do a great job, is actually quite hard when you first start out. There is no one in the room. It's just me and this piece of glass. So getting comfortable with who I am and talking to a camera takes time. Some people sooner than later, but for me, I've enjoyed the process. I absolutely love the process because every day I become more confident. So as a designer, my recommendation to you, build sites. Every site you build, you'll get more confident. As you build sites, try to grow and improve in your skill set. You don't have to be perfect. Don't get caught in perfection. That's the biggest trap here. Don't get caught in perfection, and don't get caught on trying to make every site like so superior. Just focus on where you are and build out every site for every client with consistency, following some basic rules. Watch some of my other videos on basic rules I have on websites on how to make them consistent and beautiful so the client doesn't come back to you questioning every little thing. And think about this as well. I would highly recommend not just becoming a confident designer, but become a confident business person. Maybe that's not the best way to phrase it, but it actually might be the best way to phrase it. You want to become a confident business person. So when you're working with a client, you want to be confident in that relationship just as much as you are with the code. You want to be confident in the design you create, but you also want to be confident with the client. The more you're confident with the client and have a clear, hey, this is how the process works. I'm sorry that I know you want to do step 4 right now, but we need to finish step 1, 2, and 3 before we even touch 4. Hey, I know that you have 12 people on your team, but they're all sending me instructions. I prefer 1, and I only work with 1. So you guys can gather your notes, organize them, and then one person could send it over to me. That way there's no confusion, and that when Susie asks for something and Ralph asks for something else on the same thing, it's not conflicting. I'm not here to decipher your team. Your team deciphers your team and then tells me what to do as the designer. So different things like that. I've never actually had to say that to clients, but I have been clear with clients on, hey, I'm working with you, not 87 people. So let's be clear on that. Anyway, but confidence comes through the process, and confidence comes by failing. It just does. I think that's probably my last point. You go through the process, you fail miserably sometimes, but that's how you build more confidence. There have been times where I just was like, I don't know why this failed. I tried so hard. I tried to make the client happy. I tried to make this work. There was so much that I was trying to do, and it just didn't work out. Am I a bad designer? No, you're not a bad designer. Just sometimes it doesn't work with a client. Literally, that's it. Sometimes you and someone else don't vibe, and that is not a bad thing. Doesn't mean you're a bad designer. That's why focus on the rule of 10. Focus on building experience. Focus on repetition. The more you build sites, the better you're going to get. If you can go through a year and build 30 sites, awesome. What if you built 50? You're basically double as good as you were when you built 30. And there's this hockey stick effect. Basically, at the end of the graph, everything you do builds on each other, and at a certain point you become so good that you just don't have to worry about the small details. And good website design, this is probably my last point. It has to be because I keep talking. Good website design doesn't come from the most custom site. This is why I think it's so funny how I think the Webflow world, I love the Webflow world. I love it. Cautionary note, I love it. But it's like, you don't need a custom website. Things like Squarespace, even Wix, out of the box, make a beautiful site. Shopify basic templates are gorgeous. I've seen millions of dollars of transactions happen on simple, basic templates. And I've seen really custom websites that land 4 sales a month. The design is not the only essential part. Solving a business problem, solving a consumer need is really essential. And so if you start there and focus there, you don't need to learn how to write JavaScript. You don't need to learn how to become the most advanced developer. If anything, make some friends with some advanced developers. In the process though, you will build confidence. Oh, and I'll actually say this is the final point. Make friends. The more friends you have in this space, more freelancers, other people in say the Squarespace circle community that you can go to and have conversations with, sometimes just vent or sometimes just ask for support or help or guidance, This is amazing. Even if you have to pay them to get some service done, it is completely worth it because then you don't feel alone. I think that's one of the bigger challenges, and why somebody would want to feel so confident in their design is, well, they just feel alone. They don't feel they have anyone who has their back or understands their side, especially if the client is just conflicting in the whole process. This is actually probably one of the most important videos I think I've made. I just realized this talking through it. If you could get these things sorted in your mentality and your process, you're gonna scale and crush it. Because think about this, one thing that's so important about becoming a confident designer, and I mentioned experience. Well, if you focus on experience, you don't get caught up in the day-to-day of like every single payment. In the beginning, I always recommend to people, don't get caught up in how much money you're making. Build experience, because later on you could charge more for that. So for example, you might build a $4,000 website, but you only charge $2,000 for it. So in the end, you do that process with the client, you now have a $4,000 project to show the next client. It's a process where you can build experience, which builds confidence, which builds confidence in your client relationship, which builds confidence in the product you deliver. And the more that you carry, the more the client feels it, and the more the client feels secure. The client doesn't go with the best option, they go with the safest option. And so if you are someone who is confident and brings confidence to the table, the client is going to be happy to work with you and trust your opinion. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, drop them below. If you got value from the video, hit the like button. And if you got value from the video, share the video. That would be even better. I would appreciate that so much. Finally, subscribe. Hit the subscribe button if you want more content like this. We publish 4 videos a week for you. Love you guys. See you guys in the next video. Peace.